So the LAPD talking about this knife found on the former O.J. Simpson property. What does it all mean years after O.J. was acquitted in the deaths of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and his friend Ron Goldman?
Stan Goldman, a criminal professor at Loyola Law School, joins us now to talk about the new discovery and what it means for O.J. and the case. Welcome, Mr. Goldman. First question out here first. If that knife can be linked back to these two murders, what would it mean for the case? The police chief already said most likely double jeopardy would apply here. So what would prosecutors do?
Well, double jeopardy was never intended to protect people who were innocent. Yeah, that wasn't really the thought. It was just that the prosecution shouldn't have the chance to try and retry and then retry people until they could get a guilty verdict, regardless of the amount of evidence involved. So, no, there's no chance, even in a case involving a murder, which has no statute of limitations, of retrying O.J. Simpson for this. You could theoretically try someone for obstruction of justice or trying to destroy evidence, but I'm sure the statute of limitations would have itself run on any such crimes. So the answer is it just may help some people decide, if they were uncertain as to who the killer really was, if the blood can be tested on such a knife, if it exists, and be shown to be perhaps a combination of O.J. Simpson's and either or both of the murder victims.
Yeah, and Professor, on the other hand, if they test it and the forensic evidence points to another killer and not O.J. Simpson, how would that affect the civil case? Because O.J. was found guilty in the civil case, ordered to pay millions of dollars to the Goldman family.
Probably wouldn't have any effect on that. I tell you, though, what it might have a slight psychological effect on would be the fact that O.J. Simpson sometime next year comes up for parole in his case in Nevada. And one does wonder whether, in fact, it might have some influence, without even saying so, on people on the parole board if it were shown that O.J. had or hadn't committed the crime.
Well, DNA evidence, of course, is something that's being used a lot these days. If indeed this knife is linked back, would this at least mean some sort of rest or repose for the Goldman family, for the Brown family? I mean, just to get some sort of closure, in your opinion?
I think about as much closure as they were going to get in this case probably took place during the civil trial and its aftermath, in which O.J. Simpson was found not only to have done this by a preponderance of the evidence, the civil standard, but since they also found him liable for what we call punitive damages, the jury actually rendered a decision higher than the normal civil case, sort of halfway in between a civil and a criminal verdict. I don't know if the people who were involved personally in this case would feel more satisfaction here. I suspect LAPD might finally decide to put this case to rest, because I do not believe that in this case the LAPD have ever entirely closed this file because of the acquittal of O.J. Simpson in the criminal trial.
Yeah, more than 20 years later, still fascinating. All right, Professor Stan Goldman, thanks for being with us. And of course, stay with KCAL 9. We'll have continuing coverage of the investigation into the new discovery, that knife. We'll have the very latest developments throughout the day. And for the latest info anytime, you can always go to our website. It's kcal9.com.